All right. I'm doing my project on John Singer Sargent. It's a research project I did with a PowerPoint. Let me just pull this up really quickly. Okay. So I'm doing it on his life and some of the works he's done. And um, what really made me attracted to Sargent was I recognized a lot of his works, and I didn't realize how many of them that I did recognize and knew the stories about. Um, so here we are. So he was born in Italy with American parents. They always loved to travel around, so that kind of gave him an aptitude to travel as well. Um, he was trained under Carlos Duran. He was a prominent portrait artist, and he was inspired to take like the wet on wet, and instead of like doing all this preparatory work, which is just kind of like almost plein air it really, um, which is pretty impressive. And a lot of his artworks, like that's his self portrait right here, really does appear like almost like watercolor on oil. Like he did a lot of watercolor and oil paintings, and they sometimes seem to kind of blend together in certain aspects where like the style he had was very similar with both of them. All right, so he traveled around, and at the time the early 20th century had come around, like he started to favor more like watercolors. That's really where he liked to do it. Uh, he's really good at both. I guess all of us likes to do some simple stuff, and figure that's how he interpreted his slowing down of his work. And he especially liked doing watercolor in warmer seasons. So he liked to travel around with his watercolor so he could just paint in the moment. He did. Here's some examples of his watercolor of like the places he'd been to. He went around to Europe and all this stuff in the Middle East, as that one is right here. He typically had, like, you can tell he did it in warmer seasons with like the warm colors, the bright clear skies, and like clearly these are all like warmer type of places, people hanging out their clothes, clearly Middle Eastern folks here, Italy. I don't know where this one is, but judging by like the stucco and stuff, like we can assume it's like a warm arid place. All right. So he was beginning to make a name for himself after several exhibits in the salon, showing off his talent as a portraiture. And his clientele obviously were very famous, very affluent people. He came from a rich family, so he also came from a rich family. Um, he had a friend in Monet, and he painted Monet, who was painting by edge of the wood. I thought that was really nice. And I think that says a lot because his character, he's not really, he didn't marry, he didn't have a family. He was more like a couple close friends, kind of to himself. And so his career really kind of just took over his life, and eventually he kind of again abandoned portraiture for watercolors, and um, he was particularly interested in America's cultural development and like the boom that they were having over there through the late 19th century, 20th century, and up to his death. He died in London, and he remained an American citizen, which is really interesting, considering he was never born in America. But he was a very very affluent American, and this part of him kind of is like how he captured the world around him as he moved, which I thought was really cool. And I couldn't not talk about this. This is the controversy with this lady here, Madame X, or Madame Pierre Gautreau. She was notorious for being someone who didn't really want to be painted, and had this allure to her, and she managed to have a portrait painted by Sargent. And I thought this was pretty cool because I knew everything about this. And it had originally been painted with the strap off, and because of all the social outrage, her neckline is very low, kind of makes her look like a promiscuous woman. And so he had to repaint it, but it still had like a lot of controversy around it. It's seemed as immodest, not really a popular thing. Like he eventually kind of had to move away from where he was living, and so did she, because all the outrage. It's similarly by Edouard Manet. He made this picture down there with what appears to be like a prostituted woman, but she's in fact of a higher class. And it kind of just goes to show that like this lower class thinking, of like only the poor could be this way, but it's this really like this risk taking in the painting where the women are certainly capable of this, and like it's just depicting like the women who are viewed as being voluptuous and too much, and like it's just kind of like this hypocrisy because I mean, there are some of this stuff that goes around in the background of all this higher class stuff, and it was really definitely a risk for sure taken by Sargent. And this here is like one of these ones. This is not his paintings, but is a similar in painter during his time, Leon Bonnet. He was also a portrait artist. He has very, very really cool portraits. He also did this almost similar things with Sargent, where they painted this lady here. Let's see. Yeah. So that woman here is also a actress right there. She's an actress who played Lady Macbeth, and she had such a stunning, very powerful role, and to the point where a lot of artists really like painted her and her visage. It was really cool. And also with Bonnet, him and Sargent like to paint, the everyday things, not just portraits. They like to travel. They painted what I like to consider as like something that's similar to them is they painted children, doing like everyday things, like this child's like playing with water, some of them are standing. And another interesting thing is that Bonnat here has painted two African men. One of them is getting a shave. And what's interesting about this is that a lot of painters were not black, they were not black people, and they could not paint very well the darker values of the skin. So I think it's a testament that he could be able to do that. It definitely shows his skill in that regard. And following this Lady Macbeth thing, I thought it was too cool not to share. Um, Also inspired by her performance in this, Sargent really likes to have this person. He had this personification of her that's just so amazing. And this here is like these are like jewel beetle wings. There's like 1,000 of them, and they're all hand sewn on this dress, and you can clearly see them here. So the stage light could, take like hit the dress and like make it shimmer, make it seem villainous and snake like, So this she has really like emboldened this character that she is playing to be evil, and very clearly when the drapes rise and they see it, they know immediately the audience that she is going to be a big issue in what they're about to see as a theater. And this dress is on display, and like it's just so amazing. I could not share it. So with the fascination and study with Sargent, again, he liked to paint the elite. He did a lot of American people. He painted a lot of his clients from America. Lady Agnew of Lochna, that's a very famous painting. I mean, I immediately on sight, I was like, I know that one. But often we just don't know the artists behind it. And I think that's really cool. He has this glimpse into this Edwardian life, and the way he's able to like make those clothes look so sheer and so like loose and movable, and I think that's pretty cool. And like his ability to make the eyes, I think to me very striking. In almost all his paintings you can see like maybe what this person is thinking or feeling as a mood by looking into like the way he structures their eyes, their face, the way they pose too. Like some of them are like they're people, high people in comfort. Some of them are like children, again, of children, kind of just doing everyday things because, try and set a child down to make a portrait be hell today. So some of his people who've taken inspiration to him is Isabella Watling. She has done this picture here of this young woman. And of Everett Raymond Kinsler, he's done this photo. And what's crazy to me is that a lot of these photos, they all kind of look like people that we would see now today. So it's not just like recognizing the elites of his time. It's a lot of it saying like these are people that we can see now today. And you can tell like there's just so much recognizability, sorry, of their faces. And you mean we've seen all those museum photos of people posing by like paintings that look like them, and I just think that's just so great. And a lot of these times like you'll find it with these, and especially with Sargent's, and his ability to capture human likeness and feeling the zeal of a spirit. Like you can tell someone's personality when you see them in one of these paintings. He really did take a risk with Madame X. He needed to capture her elusiveness and like the beauty that she was always so famed for, and or like wealthy man's children. And he's just able to have this unique attention to detail that uses the light and the colors to like emphasize who this person is and who they might be. So he has a viewer like me who sees something like this picture here with the wealthy children, and one of them might be being good, posing for the painting, and then one of them's too young to really, know what's going on, and then a couple of the older ones not really caring. But we can see that like the vases are very nice. It's a very open and spacious room. They are nicely dressed. Clearly, children born into comfort. So yeah, he has like this again style to his paintings that there there's a talent there that shows that he can capture the human spirit in simple forms and in complex forms. And especially has like a window into the lives of his clients. And this picture here with the children is called The Daughters of Edward Darley Boyd. Um, and it's a sentimental portrayal of these children, of this man's, and how he values them. Because usually when you're putting a portrait and you see a person and what they value and what this person has, and to him it's these vases and these children very prominently put into screen here. And then he started to like shift away and go into landscapes with watercolor. And again with like his travels into America, and he saw like different cultures and stuff like that intermixing to each other, and seeing like these landscapes are taking more of his attention. And again he's growing older, and he's kind of wants to slow down a little bit. Oh, and so like for me like this idea of him just trying to like I guess what I want to say is like for his relevance sake, we can look at this as like a way to understand like how he sees his world. um I feel like his relevance today is very interesting because we all like have seen most of these paintings. We've seen something like this with like a bit of history, art history behind it, and we can see like the people who took after him, and people who now take after him too, with these guys here. And what like his his use of the lights and like everything about it is just so beautiful and just intermixes in just such a way that makes it cohesive. And especially with his landscapes, um here his landscapes, like it's just it feels like we are to recognize them as well as he did, because I feel like some of these are like little snapshots, before photos. He was taking a little snapshot of what he saw and put it on a canvas. And I think that is just so incredibly talented. I don't know if I could ever do that. Um, but the way we study him, today, um, he has this ability to again like put the simple and the complex together. One of the things I heard early in college is this quote that says, in order to break the rules, you must do something correctly. You have to follow the basics. You have to do everything to the T. Like again, this realism painter did like he's so good at realism, and for doing that, he's able to do something that is what we wouldn't really be considered realistic. It's not like hyper realistic, but we can tell what's there. So he was able to learn that and do this, and I just think that's incredible. And yeah, so that's my presentation.